Okay. Welcome. I'm Anna. I'm Ambassador Girl Scout. And today I'm talking to Miss Brown. If you have any questions, I guess there's no one right now. So, okay, so let's get started. Unless you would like to add anything.
No, I'm Libby Brown. I'm a senior product manager at Microsoft. I'm in our identity organization, in my charter and product space that I own is our passwordless story. And I did throw together like a little bit of a deck, but it says host disabled participant screen sharing. So if you want to let me do that, we'll make that happen. Sorry, I should have mentioned that before.
Right, can you
try it again?
Okay.
There we go. We're good.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Good?
Yep.
All right. So let me go back to slide. So a little bit about me. I went to high school with Anna's mom. That's how I think I came to join this motley organization here. In addition to being a full-time employee of Microsoft, I'm a mom of 2 kids. And when I have the chance, I love to cook and bake. So that's kind of my hobbies. And I also started playing the guitar, which has been fun and different. A little bit about my career history is I graduated from Thomas Jefferson High School for Science Technology in 1993. I took no computer science courses at Jefferson. Wasn't anything that interested me at the time. But that said, we did use computers for most of our classes. I went to Duke University after Jefferson, and I started out as an engineer, but they didn't have computer science engineering. And so I started out as a mechanical engineer, and it turns out I just didn't really care if you took like a piece of metal and you bent it where it would break or anything along those lines. And so I transferred out of the engineering school, and I ended up getting my undergraduate degree in public policy studies, which is problem solving, just like engineering is problem solving, just using words and numbers and math and statistics of public policy instead of engineering and roads and development and metals and materials. I think if computer engineering had been a course, I might have stuck that out. As it was, I ended up only taking 1 computer science class in all of my time at Duke as well. But the last class I took my senior year, just for fun, was a class on Greek art and architecture. And our final project was, hey, build a website about something that you've learned. And so that got me familiar with web development, HTML, how to host a website, just through that weird little arts and sciences class that I decided to take on a whim my last year at Duke. I went back to DC after that, and I worked for a small little publishing company. And at the time, most of the viewers of this are probably too young to remember, but at the time that was like the start of the internet. Like Amazon still only sold books at that time. But this little publishing company was one of the first companies to be profitable with selling an online subscription. And so I worked with them actually on web design and web development, and like helping the news people in the newsroom put data into forms that we could then publish to a website. And so I didn't know it at the time, but what I did when I was 22 years old for this little news organization in DC is kind of what I'm doing today, just at a different scope and scale and a different subject. At the time, again, this was like pre-internet boom, but the internet was just starting to be exciting. I decided I needed a little more than just a small publishing company. So I actually went to Vanderbilt University for my master's in business. Another Laura Green crossover is that's where Anna's mom also went to graduate school. So we have that in common as well. And I actually majored or got my focus on information technology strategy. How do businesses take advantage of technology to gain competitive advantage? How can we use, if we're a manufacturing organization, how can we use technology to be a better manufacturing organization? I think that's very interesting. You know, a lot of companies, they use computers because they have to, not because it's important to them or because it's part of who they are. Coming out of Vanderbilt, I actually had a chance to be recruited through Microsoft's college recruiting process. And that's how I ended up there. I had a couple on-campus interviews. I flew out to Seattle, interviewed a couple times. And then because of my background in publishing, I landed in an organization called Microsoft Learning. And they did book publishing and online publishing. And so that is how I got to Microsoft. And then I have been there for just over 16 years now, doing a variety of things. Let's see. My current job is helping our users go passwordless. So I would imagine that every one of you has a Google account for your Gmail. You might have a different account for your school. You probably have a social media account. With all those accounts, you have passwords. Hopefully you've done something like put in a cell phone number so that you can get a text message with a code in it. That's called multi-factor authentication. You have your password and then your MFA. I will tell you that at Microsoft, in our identity platform, hello, Echo, we serve over 1 billion transactions a day. We just get people coming in and logging in and then going off to do whatever they need to do. 1 billion people a day. We will tell you that that password is not very secure, and we have accounts that are compromised every day. So the primary way those accounts get compromised is by passwords. And so we are trying to give our users better, safer, easier ways to stop using passwords. I do that for our business organizations. So whether it is like an organization like the US Army, they're one of our customers, or Accenture, or, you know, a mom and pop organization that just needs, you know, extra email. They all use the services that I work with. And we do that because when you're logging in, you're not just like authenticating to, because it's fun, you're trying to access something, whether it's your email on your personal account, or like I said, your social media, or in these businesses, it might be their financial systems, or, you know, their top secret project plans that they don't want anyone else to get access to. It's about your password, and your authentication methods are about keeping that data safe. And what we've learned over the years is if it's hard for a user to do it, they're going to do it wrong. They're going to get phished. They're going to give their password away. They're going to have their password as summer123. Real story. If you ask your users to change their passwords every quarter, you're going to see summer123, fall123, winter123. We have the data to show you that. And guess what? The bad guys also know that. So they're guessing that your password is password123 or summer. And so we're trying to give our customers better ways to be secure. And whether that is using, if you're a Windows user, you might have Windows Hello set up and the camera looks at you and it smiles and it says, "Hey, good afternoon, Libby." Or if on your mobile device, you use Touch ID or Face ID, those are passwordless authentication methods, and we're trying to bring those forward. So we've got some super cool stuff. Microsoft and Google and Apple, for the first time in like the industry, have been working together on this. Apple just had their big announcement, and I'm working to make it real for Microsoft too. Anna, when you and I started talking and you said, you know, talk about your computer science, I said, I don't have any background in computer science. I'm product manager and I sit in an engineering org, but I don't code. I problem solve for the engineers who are then breaking those problems into bits and bytes and chunks and pieces and creating large complex systems to serve. I need my user to not use a password, and then they go and make the bits work. From a more generic perspective, that's about knowing your customer and what they need, why they need it, how they might use it. Then it's also taking that external input and communicating it out. Like, I need to go to my business and define what that product is going to look like and why we need to build it and how that's going to grow our business. And then I go to our engineers and we figure out how do we actually build the thing. So if you've ever been in a computer science class where you have a project, the product manager is going to be that one who says, so folks, what are we building? Okay, that's great, but how's it going to work? It's kind of the precursor to actually doing the software engineering part of it. I threw this one in here as a bit of a joke to also highlight some of the areas of software development and product management, which is the product manager is the one who's taking the input from the customers and hopefully translating it so that you can actually develop what the customer wants versus what they said they wanted versus what the engineer heard should be built. And then on kind of a like, what do I do every day? It kind of follows a product life cycle. So next week, I have the opportunity to go to an industry conference, and there I'm going to be talking to a bunch of my customers, a bunch of other people in the industry, some of the partners that we work with. And, I get to talk about my product, and then I get to hear from them how that's going. I'm super excited about that. I touched on we need to build the business case, like how at Microsoft, we've got 50,000 software engineers. Why should I get 5, 10, 20 to help build this product? How is that going to translate into revenue for the organization? Or for my work, it's not so much revenue. It's like, what will happen if we don't make our customers more secure? How much will be lost if they suffer a breach or an attack because their password got phished? So I'm in a really fortunate space where I get to say we need to do this, not for revenue reasons, but because if we don't, bad things happen, and that tends to move things forward a little bit better. I get to work with tremendously talented designers and researchers. I can go to my design team and say, hey, we need to think about a flow where this happens, and they will come back with interactive prototypes and designs, and we can pick and choose and go out to our partners and customers and get feedback on that. That's one of the things that I love about Microsoft is we just have those resources to make the time to get those experiences right, and then the people to help get that. Like I've got access to a whole research team, and we can go and run usability tests and let see which ones work best. Like I've talked about before, is I get to collaborate with our software engineering org. I'm not going to tell them, like, okay, these are the code libraries you need to write, and this is the server you go deploy it on, or anything like that. I say these are the problems I need to solve. And then we partner together on, is this the best way to solve it? And how can you make those designs that research team came up with and make them real? There's a whole lot of preparation and support that goes into running a product and a service at Microsoft. So I have content writers to help me out, whether that's, just basic documentation or like a how-to guide, sometimes even videos. We have a whole support staff that needs to know, what did we just build and when are customers going to start using it and what are the problems that they're going to have. So I have to help make sure that those people have the information that they need. Sales is going to have to talk about it. Our account management team is going to go in and say, hey, we know you're doing real great with your Windows deployment, but now let's talk about getting you to passwordless, and why should you do that, and communicate out that way. And then it kind of is a cycle, because once customers start using the thing that we're building and doing, they have feedback and they tell us what we got wrong and what we got right and what we need to go fix and what else we need. And then the cycle begins again.
Wait, sorry. It looks like my meeting is about to end. I'm not sure why. So I think I'm gonna have to end it here and then restart it.
Okay, well, that was actually the last thing.
Oh, okay.
So, is it imminently ending?
Yeah, well, it says I have to upgrade to Pro, or it's ending.
Okay.
So, I had a few more questions.
All right, why don't we end and then we'll do the questions.
Okay.
All right. So you'll email me the link?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll email it to you.
All right, thanks.
Okay. So All right. If you could go back in time and give your high school self some advice, what would you tell them?
Well, that's a good question. Um, Probably don't get frustrated so easily. Um, I got frustrated when I went to Duke and I was one of the like two girls in my engineering class. And I was frustrated that all the engineering classes started at like 8 in the morning and all the public policy classes started at 3. Um, just stick with it and there's good things on the other side.
Um, so I guess that kind of, well, anyway, so what advice do you have for us as we consider our education and possible career goals?
I thought a little bit about this one, and I will say what I'm working on now didn't exist 10 years ago. It just wasn't, you just had a password. You keep moving forward. And I tell my kids this too, which is like, at this point, it's not a question of what you know, it's a question of what you can learn. And so you will from here on out, you will always be learning about things. You will never feel like you know enough, because at least in the tech space, things are changing so fast, whether it is which library you're working on or the operating system you're coding for or the infrastructure you're going to deploy your code to. Like, it's going to be different in 2 years. It's certainly going to be different when you move into the industry in 5 to 10 years. So it's less about what you know now and more about how can you find those answers.
Okay, so what challenge did you encounter in your educational path? And how did you overcome these challenges?
I talked a little bit about this, which was finding what was that right, especially as you're thinking about like, oh, in college and what major am I going to take and what's my job out of that. I guess if I were also to tell myself back then, or tell myself, my college self, what I know now, which is it ultimately doesn't matter that much. It helps you get your first job. It helps you give you some skills to start with, but life outside of school is way longer than life inside of school. And so if you can take a little bit of a longer view and realize that what's in school is just what you're doing right then, enjoy it more. I felt like maybe coming out of Jefferson, I had to go into sciences. And what would I do with a history or a public policy degree? But I was happier taking those classes in college, and being happy and enjoying what I was learning made learning so much easier. So I guess the challenge was finding that thing that made me excited to keep learning.
Do you have any teachers or mentors that inspired you?
Oh, so many. My high school math teacher was also my crew coach. So that was like a good combination of like, she helped just kind of be this role model of like this cool woman that like could do a lot of neat things, and she was in tech and she was athletic. And then when I worked at Congressional Quarterly, I had a woman manager, which was pretty odd. Like, I will just say, in the tech space, like, there's still a gender imbalance. And so having a woman who also was a mother, like, was, I was 20, I wasn't expecting to do any of that, but seeing her was like really helpful to, if you see that, you can be that sort of guidance. So, yeah.
In your opinion, what does it take to be successful in this field?
Oh, curiosity more than anything else. Hey, you said something, I just want to follow up on that. Or, oh, I don't know anything about that, let me go learn more. And if you find curiosity and passion and interest, like, it's really easy to get ahead, and really people appreciate being around those people who also like curiosity and passion and learning.
What kinds of sexism have you faced?
I will say it's gotten so much better. The team that I'm on, which is a team of probably close to 220 project managers and product managers, at Microsoft, is now almost 50-50 men and women, which is just, when I started, it was, I might be the only woman in the room. Maybe there was one other. So it's nice to see Microsoft kind of leading the way in that. But like I said earlier, like I was one of two women in my engineering classes, and that just, it wasn't so much that it was anything direct or overt, but I just didn't feel like I really had like that safe space and those peers to join me. I've never really hit any sort of anything that I could be like, oh my God, you're doing that to me because I'm a woman. But I also recognize that it's those subtle aggressions and micro opportunities that have hit me along my career.
Okay, so what or do you know of any good sites to learn how to code, or like things like to get into learning how to, like, I guess, create games?
Um, so did I mention that I'm not a coder? Uh, but I will say, like, my kids, they play in Roblox Studio and code.org and Scratch. Like, those are kind of some of the, or that's probably younger than your cohort. But I would also say, like, Stack Overflow and Google are your friend. Again, it's about learning how to learn. And so, hey, if I'm interested in game development, where should I start, is a perfectly valid Google search. Or Bing, if you work for Microsoft.
All right, that was the last question. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. So Anna, can I ask you a couple of questions?
Yep.
What got you started on this project?
Okay, so in ninth grade, it's like at my school there's like different tracks you can go in, and so with my specific track there was a intro to computer science class that was required in ninth grade, and so I took that. And then one of my friends was interested in joining the coding club in my school, and so I decided I would just check it out with her. And so then we decided we would just stay in for a little while, just see what it was like. And I ended up liking it, so I and still in the club, and we'll plan to be in the club next year. And so this project kind of came out of that. And so, like, trying to get more girls into coding, or at least introduced to it as a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, that's pretty much it. And then also like I guess last year, because like 11th grade I took AP Computer Science A, and I've also been in other coding clubs outside of my school's coding club.
Have you done any hackathons?
Yeah, I've been to, like, I don't know, 7.
So I have an intern working with me over the summer, and she goes to Montreal Polytechnique. So she not only can code, but she can code in English and French. But she runs the logistics of her university's hackathon. So that's why I'm just curious. I will put a plug to you and your friends who might be watching this, that like start thinking about what you like. It's not too early to start thinking, okay, what am I going to do in the summers of college? Because like at Microsoft, we will take interns after their freshman and sophomore years. And I know other organizations do that as well. So, that's what, 2-3 years away for you, a couple summers, not that far away. And then those turn into opportunities almost entirely, like into opportunities with, all the tech industry. That said, computer science is relevant across just about any field you want to. I have a friend who works for a financial institution in New York, but he's majored in computer science. So it's becoming one of those fields where if you are confident with computers, you can apply it to any industry. So I just happen to be in the tech industry for computers. Yeah.
And I also, I forgot to mention that also, like 11th grade, so I had the opportunity to do research. And so my project was like pretty much computational and chemical and biomolecular engineering, but like doing research on proteins, but using computer science.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Wow. Okay. You do take after your mom then. That's outstanding.
All right. That's the end of my questions, unless you have anything else.
No, go forth and code some more.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Thanks. Have a great weekend. And
You too.
please tell your mother I say hello.
Oh.
All right.